Hey guys, it's Margaret, and it's Sunday, January 21st, the 21st day of the Mainichi Project. Okay, so, to be honest with you guys, today is going to be a bit of a bummer, but at least my high school history teacher will be proud of me. He's on Facebook. We're friends. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the video that I posted yesterday. It is, in summary, a video of a historical landmark here in Aizu Wakamatsu known as Imoriyama. Imoriyama is a memorial place to and final resting place for 19 members of the Byakkotai, some Aizu area soldiers who fought in the Battle of Aizu, part of the larger Japanese Boshin Civil War. It just so happens that these 19 soldiers were actually young men between the ages of 16 and 17 years old. And it just so happens that they did not lose their lives in combat, but rather due to a series of unfortunate events that led them to take their own lives. So let me get started. First, let me tell you a little bit about the Civil War. During the Boshin Civil War, a war that turned Japan in on itself, Aizu found itself fighting on the side of the Tokugawa shogunate. I don't really want to get into the politics of the Tokugawa shogunate versus the new Meiji government, but in simple terms, the Tokugawa shogunate was in power, was in favor of a strict class hierarchy, and was in favor of Japan isolationism. Those opposing the shogunate were in favor of opening Japan to international trade and to restoring the power of the then 17-year-old Meiji emperor. There may have been ulterior motives. So anyways, Aizu had sworn their loyalty to the shogunate and had found themselves embroiled in a month-long battle known as the Battle of Aizu. Aizu troops consisted of variously ranked samurai and soldiers who were then separated by age. Even a few women got thrown in when times got tough. The youngest division was known as the Byakkotai, or the White Tiger Brigade. Many of these young soldiers were the sons of samurai who had been well educated, that is to say, educated at all, and the tenets of the Aizu clan, which, among more mundane studies, included the ethics of the Aizu clan and martial arts. This is going to come into play later. The particular group of Byakkotai that I'm talking about was more of an honorary guard than anything else. They were part of the group sent to protect the Lord of Aizu, who was strategizing outside of the inner city. When the fighting reached the group, the boys followed the older, more experienced soldiers into battle. They were all summarily defeated in what is today known as the Battle of Tonokuchihara. The group of 20 boy soldiers escaped to Imoriyama to regroup. Now it just so happens that the area castle, Suruga-jo, is visible from this point. And it just so happens that while the boys were fighting this separate battle, the castle had fallen under attack. Seeing the smoke and fire rising from the castle and the surrounding area, the boys in their despair mistakenly believed the castle to have been taken and the battle to have been lost. All of the boys had received the same education, and they all knew that it was better to die than to be killed or taken by the enemy. So 20 boys did the honorable thing, and they took their own lives. Well, 19 boys took their own lives. A single young man, Sadakichi Inuma, whose 16-year-old hand may not have been so steady, was rescued before he could succumb to his injuries. He alone lived long enough to discover that the castle had not fallen to the enemy. It is thanks to his survival that the story of the Byakkotai is preserved. Now, this story alone, to my Western sentiments, is tragic, but I understand the importance of it to local culture. To locals, it's a story of loyalty and strength, as well as of tragic loss. I get that. What I'm about to tell you next is the part of the story that I have a problem with. Long after the Japanese Civil War, Japan found itself involved in another war, a little war known as World War II. They were friends with Italy and Germany at the time, and they called their little group the Axis powers. Through what I assume were diplomatic means, the leaders of these two countries were made aware of the story of the loyal and well-trained Byakkotai. In fact, it is said that the story of the Byakkotai was instrumental in forming the Hitler Youth. In awe of the story of these strong and loyal youth, Japan's friends sent a few gifts. A few years before the three countries cemented their friendship in the Tripartite Act, Aizu received a gift from the People of Rome, a column featuring an eagle, the fascist symbol of Italy at the time. In 1935, Aizu received a visit from the secretary of the German embassy in Japan. He brought with him a stone monument featuring the words, "To the young samurai, from one German man," as well as the Iron Cross. Both monuments stand at Imoriyama to this day. These historical monuments are not what I have a problem with. As part of my job, I was asked to do translations for Imoriyama. When I was asked to do the initial translation, the wording of the plaques was a little different. These statues, presents from friends at an inconvenient point in history, were merely that. And what's more, they were callously destroyed by occupying American forces, for no reason. The eagle was merely a bird, and the Iron Cross was an ancient German symbol. I had a bit of a fight over it, to be honest. To this day, it's probably the most American thing I've ever done on the job. In the end, the part about the American troops was removed. No mention of the war was made in either explanation. And that part of history was covered up, as though visiting tourists won't recognize the time period or the symbols. So, finally, that's the problem I have with Imoriyama. I have a problem with the whitewashing of these monuments, and in general with the whitewashing of Japan's involvement in World War II. Young people don't learn about it, and old men try to cover it up, in what I assume is an attempt to preserve the wa of the country. To this day, the story of the Byakkotai remains a popular one here in Aizu Wakamatsu. Young children dress as Byakkotai, and, I'm not exaggerating, perform a dance version of honor suicide. My old boss told me once, with a wry smile on his face, of the time he as a young boy got a chance to perform the dance. I must have practiced killing myself 100 times, he said. Yesterday, at Imoriyama, we stopped for a small snack at the base of the stairs. The woman running the stall, an Aizu native, reminded us that it was the 150-year anniversary of the Byakkotai tragedy this year. 150 years since those boys made a tragic mistake and lost their lives. 150 years since Aizu lost a war that would leave its mark on the area to this day. And then she said something to me, which really put into perspective how the war affected the area. You know, I was thinking about how it's been 150 years since the Byakkotai, but then I remembered it's also been 150 years since the Meiji Restoration. When Aizu remembers the Civil War, they don't remember the influx of new technology, or the death of the feudal system that came with it. They think of the bravery of their people, and the tragedy of their loss. I imagine the same can be said for many countries who've been on the losing side of war. Okay, you guys, that's it for today, but for anybody else living in Aizu, if you have any additions or corrections to make, please include them in the comments down below. Thanks, you guys, and I'll see you soon.